In the 5,000 horsepower world of nitro drag racing, there's no room for fakers. You have to control the power to win rounds, to take championships, to reach the status of legend. In top fuel drag racing, Shirley Muldowney's 3 world titles put her not only at the top of the sport, but clearly install her as the most successful female racer in history. John Force is rapidly approaching legend status. This 4-time fuel funny car champion is the most entertaining professional sports figure, period, in or out of the car. Last year at London Motorsports Park, Force and frontrunner Chuck Etchells blew us away with excellent numbers. Force won the match race, but Etchells demands a rematch to even the score. And Shirley Muldowney returns to Canada, scene of some of her greatest triumphs. It'll all go down under the heading of legend in Canadian drag racing event history. From London Motorsports Park, Sparta, Ontario, it's the Can-Am Nationals on Raceline. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eric Thomas with Ron St. Clair and John Massingbird, and welcome to London Motorsports Park in Sparta, Ontario for the Can-Am Nationals. Ron, in this motorsport game we're involved in, they don't get any more powerful or any more exciting than top fuel drag racing. With funny cars, a rematch with NHRA stars John Force and Chuck Etchells.
Don't forget, they don't get any louder than this either.
That's true.
We're going to need some earplugs, I think. You know, on Raceline last year, of course, John Force won 2-1, but I think Etchells is out for revenge big time this year. He's already down 1-0. We'll show you that one from last night, and then, of course, hopefully he'll come back, win 2 or whatever. But it's going to be a good show, no doubt about that.
Shirley Muldowney in a match race, the 3-time world NHRA top fuel champion is here. Craig Smith, the GM Goodwrench runner. This is going to be exciting.
Yeah, about 10,000 horsepower between the two. We'll show you that match as well. Smith already up 1-0 in that one. And also coming up, the quick 16 Pro Comp. I'll tell you, we've taken the 16 fastest cars in the entire field here, and we'll put them on the show, and we have a great one lined up for you.
For more, here's John Massingbird.
The world of top fuel drag racing, and especially match racing, is a very tough and unforgiving game. Last night in round number 1, Shirley Muldowney came out loaded with the style that won her 3 world championships. But as you see, she had a very interesting run. The car got airborne right off the starting line, and she carried the wheels about 3 to 4 feet for almost to the 330-foot mark and slapped it down. Crew Chief Ron Tobler came back last night, and Ron, you took the A-frames off the car and there was some other damage. What condition are you in right now?
Well, we're in pretty good condition. I mean, my car's not as nice as it was when I got here, but the main thing that it's safe, and I feel good about sending her down there. And we had other amps to put on it. We had other front wheels and tires, and the guys down at John Force's welded the car up for us this morning, so I think we're in good shape.
Now, Ron, in match race setup, is it a little unusual for Shirley to get that kind of air right off the starting line?
Well, I'll tell you, the car has been really leaving hard the last couple of weeks, and it's really been running well all year. And, you know, watching your film last night, it jerked him up about a foot at the hit of the throttle, and it just wasn't setting him down. And the farther you go, the farther up it kept coming. So, you know, we're out here to run as hard as we can. We're not out here just fluffing through this. We want to run as quick and as fast as we can. So I think they'd had a good run had they been able to complete it.
Well, there's no question it's going to be a good run, and it's setting up to be a great race this afternoon. And I'll guarantee you, a 3-time world champion does not quit, neither does the team. When we come back, we're ready to rumble on Raceline.
This is Raceline, brought to you by Kodak Gold Ultra 400 film for all your Kodak moments. By AC Delco Parts, where the difference is quality. And by your GM Goodwrench Service Plus dealer, where you get the finest quality work at competitive prices.
One of the things that keeps fans coming back to NHRA Championship drag racing is precisely what you see going on in the background. That's that accessibility to the guys that run the cars. Chuck Etchells out here with a long lineup of people signing souvenirs. Now, last night in round number 1 with Force, keep in mind this is year number 2 for these guys, Chuck got real busy on the starting line and hammered the throttle and smoked the tires. Chuck, a tremendous first run last night. A little exciting, though. You don't normally smoke the tires in a match race deal, do you?
Well, you try not to, and but I think it was probably pretty exciting for the fans. You try and get down to the other end for them. That's something they'd never see at a national event, but you give up. So it was fun. I hope they liked it, and hope we run better today.
Now, you stayed in it for a long, long time. Thoughts of trying to catch up to Force?
Well, you never know if he's going to break, but when I get down around 800 or 900 feet, I knew we wouldn't catch him, but I stayed on it anyway.
Well, it's setting up for a great race today. Chuck Etchells and John Force coming your way on Raceline.
John's going to be a busy boy. Here we are in the booth, Eric Thomas and Ron St. Clair. A little track fact here for you.
Nice hot day, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. A little overcast here as we sit about 6 miles north of Lake Erie at basically Sparta, Ontario. They call it London Motorsports Park.
60 feet, the standard NHRA dimensions here. You mentioned close proximity to Lake Erie. That makes this area oxygen-rich. That's why we get the times we do, Ron.
Very humid at times as well. You know, you saw Etchells smoke the tires on that run John was talking about. His time was a 5:97 to 2:36. Force won that first race with a 5:57.
Okay, we've already talked about round 1 in Top Fuel. Let's go to round 2 right now. Ron Tobler and company firing it up for 3-time NHRA World Top Fuel champion Shirley Muldowney out of Mount Clemens, Michigan, and she will face Craig Smith out of Odessa, Washington. It'll be in the right lane for Shirley and the left lane for Craig Smith.
Well, Shirley had a tough time in round 1, a time of 8:29 with a 5 at just 88 miles an hour. She was forced to shut it down early because the tires came up, as you saw. Smith won the opening match with a 5:27 with an 8, 268 miles an hour, getting the job done in a big way last night.
1977, 1980, 1982 for those 3 Top Fuel champions, and a good burnout there for Craig Smith, 4-time NHRA Pro Final winner. This is going to be a dandy.
Yeah, I think so. It's the first time we've had a chance to see both these two compete against each other at London Motorsports Park. The crowd eagerly anticipating this one, as well as the Etchells Force matchup. And I'll tell you what, this crowd is so big they had to build a brand new grandstand to facilitate them all.
Oh, they are crammed into here. A lot of standing room along the edges as well. Shirley Muldowney backing it in slowly, back into IHRA national event competition, just losing in the final to Doug Herbert at a recent event, the IHRA Spring Nationals at Bristol, Tennessee. So she's back in. NHRA, perhaps we'll wait and see.
Drivers telling us that both lanes have very, very good traction here today. It'll be interesting to see how they come off this launching pad. First 60 to 100 feet will be very interesting. Smith had a great 60-foot time in his opening run yesterday, Eric, in 8.75. That's .875, 60 feet in less than a second.
That unmistakable black bark and attack of nitromethane, 5,000 horsepower, internal combustion engines, only 500 cubic inch, the basic Dodge Chrysler Hemi design they're still using today.
Smith up 1-0, virtue of that 5:27 run last night. And he would love to wrap it up here to take the 2 out of 3, but you can rest assured Shirley is going to give it all she has.
The Ron Hodson people for Craig Smith are right there as well. They've got this place dialed in and have had right from the get-go too, Ron.
Drivers say that they can really leave hard off the line here at Sparta. Wait for both drivers now to stage their Top Fuel dragsters.
Make sure Shirley Muldowney doesn't get into the start of a blowover like she did in round number 1. That was pretty scary stuff.
Smith leaves the line first, but it's Shirley Muldowney up front and through the top end. Look at this, 5:15 with a 7 at 286.83 miles an hour.
And that, Ron St. Clair, is a new London Motorsports Park drag racing track record. 5:157 for the ET, 286.83 for the miles an hour.
All right, here's the replay off the line. Smith with a reaction time of 6:13 to a 6:20 for Shirley Muldowney. And Muldowney gets to the 60-foot mark first in a time of .919 and 240 miles an hour at the 8th mile, right about there. And now look at the horsepower coming to life here.
Right side of the engine going down, but she hauls her buns down through there, and here's John.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Shirley, a 5:15 at 286. A tough time last night. The car got out on you and got a lot of air, and a pretty scary situation for a few seconds there.
Yeah, you really don't have time to be afraid. You're just thinking about the job you have to do, and, you know, that was a big surprise. This car usually doesn't stand up. It just carries the wheels about a foot, sets them down about 300 feet, and that's the way you want it to be, but it just got... it got high and it got loose.
Well, I know you don't need to hear it from anybody, but I know that both Force and Etchels had commented that you did a marvelous job of driving out. That's a scary situation when you're hanging them high like that and trying to make the judgment call as to how to let the car down.
Right. Well, I was going to try to let it down softly, and I didn't do that great a job, in my opinion. You're kind of like a passenger at that point. But the guys prepare a nice ride for me. And I have a total open mind when I go to the starting line, and I'm really grateful for that,
Well, talking to Ron, his number one concern in repairing the car absolutely was safety, and then performance second. So, again, congratulations.
Thank
You're going to
you.
the next round over Craig.
Thank you. Yeah, we're real happy with that 15. Now we're going to try to work on it and clean it up a little bit.
Three-time world champion Shirley Muldowney goes to the next round, 15. She says she can step this one up.
4 Gs at launch, 4 Gs when the chutes come out. You wonder why these guys or ladies are out of breath at the finish line, Ron.
Unbelievable. She's just so calm, cool, and collected. It's just like another day in the office for Shirley.
All righty, let's go to Nitro Style number 2. And you're looking at 4-time NHRA World Fuel Funny Car Champion from Yorba Linda, California, the irrepressible John Force up against Chuck Etchels out of Putnam, Connecticut.
John Forrest, the current track record holder here at Sparta, London Motorsport Park, 5.27. He accomplished that on Raceline a year ago as we get a good look at that machine being prepared.
John Forrest, the Castrol GTX Pontiac Firebird, 95 Steve Pfluger chassis, 500 cubic inches of Keith Black Hemi power, Kendall GT1 Dodge Avenger, and a Pfluger chassis as well for Chuck Etchels.
Big smoky burnout coming up here by Forrest. He'll go almost halfway down the track with this burnout.
Oh, he's patented for that. Look at the crowd. You can hear them too. They love these, well, half-track burnouts at least.
Forrest won the opening match last night with a 5:57 with the 7 at 273 miles an hour. Now we'll watch Chuck Etchels bring it in here for a smoky burnout. His time last night a 5:97 with a 9 at 236.9. And Forrest with the better reaction time last night of 4:41.
Coming into this match race as Etchels gets his burnout done here on the Avenger. Forrest has taken wins at Phoenix, Gainesville, the Winston Invitational, Atlanta, and Richmond. But he lost the last race to Cruz Pedregon. So he comes into this match race, and even though it doesn't count for points, you know he's going to be extra hungry.
You know, Eric, when you and I were touring around the pits prior to coming on air, we had a good look at the Chuck Etchels setup here. And what really interested me was all the weather instruments around their trailer.
Oh, yeah.
They can tell you everything from air pressures to humidity and so on and so forth. These guys really take a scientific approach to drag racing.
Tim Richards and the crew backing in Chuck Etchels. Right along the burnout marks to get maximum traction. Austin Coyle doing the same thing in the other lane with John Force.
I was interested to see that John Force did not get a time under 1 second in the 60-foot mark last night. Etchels did, .978. Force just a little over a second in the 60-footer, but I'll tell you what, he really turned up the jets in the top end of the speedway and went through the quarter-mile trap at 5:57, as mentioned.
Good times for Forrest just sort of naturally go together. First to set a national ET record below 5 seconds. Owns 7 of the 10 quickest fuel funny car runs in drag racing history. Etchels right now looking for his first win of the 95 season, Ron.
Again, the track record here, 5.27. We'll see if either one of these drivers can pull off a brand new record as Shirley Muldowney just did in Top Fuel Dragster.
Crew Chief Tim Richards walking out to the approach to the launch pad here, the concrete launch pads at London Motorsports Park. Lots of grip all the way down, especially on the launch here at London.
Yeah, neither lane, as we mentioned earlier.
Exactly.
Doesn't really matter here.
Austin Coyle with that patented OK sign through the windshield. Force is ready, and so is Chuck Etchels. Round 2, fuel funny cars here at the Castrol Can-Am Nationals on Raceline.
Working on the 4/10 light. Better reaction going to Force. A 570s way out front top end, and Force blisters through with a 540 with a 5 at 278.84 miles an hour, missing the track record, but a victory nonetheless.
Exactly. Reaction time for Force of 570. The RT for Etchels 689 tells the story, and Force goes up 2-0 in the match race in funny car.
Yeah, and here's the replay off the line. Force leaves first with that 570 reaction. Still not very good considering this is a 4/10 light, but he won anyway.
Well, as the champ unbuckles, John, it was a 540 at 278.
Yeah, a mile an hour is okay, but the car is way off. I mean, I'm driving it off to help it a little bit, and it's shaking me for 300 or 400 feet, and I just can't get back in the gas to get an ET out of it, but it was good enough to win. What happened to Chuck?
I don't know.
I never saw him, so Chuck go up and smoke?
No, he was with you, but he was behind.
Yeah, well, That's the name of the game. At least we won. That's what they come here to Raceline to watch, right?
Right on. So says the champ.
Well, it was a 5:47 for Etchels at 2:68.
We know what happened, right?
Forrest got 5 mile an hour more on that run. Let's take another look at this here. Forrest gets to the 60-foot mark, Eric, in less than a second this time. He didn't last night, and Etchels was over a second.
See him pedaling that car. No one pedals a funny car better than John Force. With crew chief Tim Richards, here's John.
Tim Richards, 540 to 47. Chuck's 47. What do you need to do to knock Force in the next round?
Well, it'll be real easy to put a little more power in it, but we're not sure we can go down it with any more power. I think Force and us, we both took some power out so we can make a run out of it for the fans.
Well, a run it was pretty close.
Yeah, the track was a lot better than it was last night, so maybe we can dial some more into it next run.
Tim Richards says, screw it down, let's go faster.
Etchels down 2-0 to Forrest on the funny car match racing. It's Muldowney and Smith tied at 1 in Top Fuel.
In the early days, I can remember taking a sponsorship with Wendy's Hamburgers just so we could eat, because we had enough money to run the car. We operated on a car on a $40,000 a year budget. That's all we had to pay payroll and everything. Then, of course, what we could win. But the Wendy's deal was a way to eat. You know what I'm saying? That was very critical. But drag racing's become my life. These drag strips are my home. They are my backyard. Sounds a little bit corny, but the fans have become my family. I have people that bring me presents here, and they come to visit, and they bake us cakes on our birthday. They know my children's birthdays that I can't remember. But for the trade out in life, we're able to make a good living. And we always joke, a good barbecue is on Saturday night at a racetrack when Coyle sets me on fire. Everything comes to an end. All great cities like Rome, they all fall sooner or later, right? But the point is, you don't have to be. If you've got the sponsorship with the people, look at the signs on my car, from Craftsman to Robestus. I mean, all pro, bumper to bumper, the deal goes on. And as long as you have the money, you can buy the parts. As long as you have the ability to negotiate good and keep a team together, which is your family, Austin, Cole, and Bernie, that's the biggest trick to the game, is keeping them together. Why does it have to end? It'll only end if I lose my eyesight, because it doesn't matter. Even if my timing gets a little slow on the start line, Coyle and Bernie will just build me a faster race car. I'm not going to hear that it will end.
We're with Craig Smith's crew chief, Donnie Couch. Donnie, you guys won the first round against Shirley yesterday with a 5:27 and slowed down to a 43 today. What happened?
Well, actually, one of the timers that moves the clutch cannon back to get aggressive on the track went out. So we didn't get a first movement on the clutch till after a half a second. Actually, it was 0.8, where it should have moved to like at 0.3. It's just a small timer like this, and they go out periodically. It's all pneumatic and operated by air, but just this little part here caused the thing to slow down. We had an 8:75 60-foot time yesterday. Come back, it dogged off the starting line, and we had to come back, find a reason. Our computer broke, so we didn't get a computer reading, so I had to get investigating into the pneumatic system, which, we also had an oil pressure problem, we thought. I was going to shut the car off, but I stuck my neck out for the fans and said, let's give them a race. But in fact, the gauge was broke, but it was a real gamble up there.
Okay, it's one for you, one for Shirley. We're on the bumper match now. What's it going to be, Dad?
Well, this is a Canadian car. We want to look good for the Canadians, and I'd like to live up here someday. And if we don't beat her, they might not let me move up here and live here. So we're going to give her all we got for the fans.
Well, Sherlock Holmes, Donnie Couch has done the investigation. Sounds like he's got a handle on this one. We're getting ready to go to the next round.
Back to the action for the Castrol Can-Am Nationals on Raceline in a moment. Welcome back to London Motorsports Park, Sparta, Ontario, and the Castrol Can-Am Nationals.
The essence of drag racing has always been the innovation of the sport. And when you talk about innovation, one of the innovators was Big Daddy Don Garlits. A few years back, he invented the rear engine dragster, and it made it much safer for a lot of racers. Now that design has transcended down to the sportsman ranks, and now you'll see rear engine dragsters are really commonplace. But what is not is building your own. Jim Galbraith built this car from the ground up, including the chassis, a very sophisticated piece, built and bent all the tin work himself, and coming back to the motor, a really nifty throttle body fuel injection setup that works well. And the one thing that Jim built as well, to top it all off, was his daughter Shannon. Shannon's qualified #2 in the field at 7:29, a very tough field, Shannon. You're excited about the race today?
Of course.
What's the excitement for you? What do you get charge out of?
The thrill of going down the track and having all that power behind you, it's a real rush.
Now, you talked earlier about kids. The kids make you happy. They ask for interviews and that kind of thing.
It's so strange to have so many people idolize you, and yet you just feel like you're a normal person, and they come up and they want your autograph and to sign stuff and shake your hand. It's really the best. It's cool.
Well, qualifying #2 out of 29 has got you in a very tough field. You're going to do well. If you go rounds today, they're really going to be asking for your autograph. Good luck.
Thank you.
Here's how the ladder looks for the quarterfinals in Pro Comp. Nagy against Matheson, Konstantinkos and Galbraith Price, Weathers, Hibbs, Schill, and DeLucia.
Interesting to point out the #1 ranked guy, the fastest qualifier of them all at 6:93, Jim McCann, was eliminated prior to this quarterfinal round. So the #2 person, Price, is the one to beat right now.
Exactly. It sometimes happens in drag racing. You can go like the Dickens, set the fastest qualifier. Doesn't always mean you're going to make it to the end.
Well, anything can happen, a red light or what have you. Paul Schill and Jim DeLucia first up here in quarterfinal action.
Schill in the left lane, and it'll be DeLucia in the right or the spectator lane. A Bantam chassis, 427 cubic inches worth of Chevy Rat power for DeLucia.
DeLucia already knocking off the #1 contender and bumps off the #5 contender now with a time of 7:89 with a 7 on a 784 index. Good for the win at 154.5 miles an hour.
Paul Schill, very cherry dragster, going down to defeat there in run #1 in the quarterfinals of Pro Comp. We've got Nick Konstantinkos out of Toronto in the left and tower lane, the 87 Chevy Jerry Haas Camaro, and he'll face Sharon Galbraith Price out of Milton, Ontario, the 88 Galbraith chassis, 509 cubic inches worth of Keith Black power.
8 seconds flat the index for Konstantinkos, and Price dialed in at 7:30 here in the near lane for the 23-year-old travel consultant.
Best ET for Konstantinkos, 790. And for Shannon Galbraith Price, a 7:33. So the numbers are pretty close. This will be a good run.
Konstantinkos does not want to get a 790 this time with an index of 8 flat, because if they break out, they lose automatically, of course. Getting the car into the staging area and set to go here for this quarterfinal run.
Konstantinkos dialing in 8 flat and a 7:30 for Galbraith Price.
Good lead by Konstantinkos, a better lead by Price with a reaction time of 5:26. That's the better of the two. Top end. Konstantinkos goes through first with a breakout. A 792 on that 8 flat dial in. So the win comes back to Price with a 731 at a 730 dial in.
So Shannon Galbraith Price picks up the win. That'll make her owner and crew chief dad Jim Galbraith pretty happy. Run #3 in the left and tower lane. Jeff Weathers out of Bolton, Ontario, 89 chassis, 408 cubic inches worth of power. The right lane, the spectator lane. Harry Hibbs out of Barrie, Ontario, another 427 cubic inch Chevy Rat motor. Love the Rat power.
Weathers to our left, ranked 11th, dialed in at 8.1. Off the line with a very good reaction time, 5:46, and well out front here at the halfway point. To the top end, it'll be Weathers going through with a winning time of 8:25 with a 3, losing time 8:17.
159.50 miles an hour for winner Weathers and 156.20 for Harry Hibbs. All right, you like shoebox cars? Here you go. We've got Brad Matheson out of Atwood, Ontario, an all-glass repro of a 55 Chevy with a unique 400 turbo Hydromatic GM transmission, and Chuck Nagy out of Niagara Falls, Ontario, the 94 Spitzer Dragster, 355 cubic inches worth of Chevy power, shooting Ron for his 3rd consecutive Pro Comp title at London Motorsports Park.
He's the only guy to win Pro Comp here, as a matter of fact.
That's right.
And he's definitely the guy to beat. Interesting, though, Eric, he qualified 8th overall with a 771 and dialed in for this run with a 784. Nagy, of course, in the far lane. This is a beautiful looking 55 here, though.
killing time. It's a glass repro of that car. Interesting to note, too, this is a door slammer car, so to speak, and we understand that Nagy's going to sell the dragster. He wants to run a door slammer next year.
All right, both cars staging here. 784 the dial-in for Nagy, 760 for Matheson. Nagy leaves first, and a red light for Matheson. Win automatically comes back to Nagy, and the number 8 seat driver will move on. Check out his time at the top end, a 785 with a 4 on a 784 dial-in. That's darn near perfect. 169.13 miles per hour.
Matheson out of it with that red light. Advancing, Nagy, Weathers, Price, and DeLucia to round 2 in Pro Con.
Meantime, round 3 in the Top Fuel dragster is just around the corner, and they're predicting down here in the Shirley Muldowney pit that she'll break that 5:15 mark, but Smitty may have something different to say.
They are tied at 1-1 in the funny car situation. We've got John Force ahead 2 rounds to none in Fuel Funny Cars. Here's John.
Ron, it's 1-1 now for the GM Goodwrench car in Shirley. You guys had a thrash last night. You did a great job repairing. What's it going to be this time around?
Well, we were a little apprehensive after the rain today, so we wanted to make sure that we got down the track. So we backed it down quite a bit from what it was last night. We were real pleased with the results, so we may turn the wick up here a little bit and see what this track will hold.
Now, Shirley gives you feedback, and then you've got to make those decisions. How much do you trade information back and forth?
Well, I like to say a lot of it's with the driver, but the majority of it I get is out of the computer. And certainly after yesterday, we just made sure and double checked with her that the car handled okay and felt all right as she drove it down there, and she said that it was fine.
Well, I know there's a ton of fans here that want you to put Shirley in the winner's circle. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Well, if they're going to turn it up, I wonder if they can hit 290. They had a 286.83 miles an hour last run, so 290 may not be out of the question.
Force has told them this track will hold some pretty stout runs, so they're going to turn it up. Performance Racing News, North America's Motorsport Authority. Who holds the current NHRA National ET record for funnies? Is it Hoffman, Force, or Cruz, Pedregon, A, B, or C?
3 good ones right there, no doubt about that. But if you're a regular subscriber to PRN, you should know the answer.
Oh, yes, we do our research, and we know you do your research as well. John Force, of course, in October at Topeka, Kansas. He set the ET record for funnies, 4.939. That is cooking, Ron.
Sure is. Here's John.
I think all of us involved in the world of motorsport understand what role sponsorship plays in this thing that we like to do on our weekends and watch on television. Well, GM Canada is involved in a big way. For those of you that watch Raceline on a regular basis, you've seen them sponsoring the MassCar Tour on the East Coast, a lot of cars in Castrol, both in East and West. Well, they're also in drag racing in a big and a little way. It starts with Steve Walsh's junior dragster all the way up to Ron Hodgson's Top Fuel dragster. I'm talking about Ron Hodgson, and we're talking about a pioneer in Canadian motorsport. This is a man that was instrumental in bringing Top Fuel funny cars and Canada together in an effort that started in the 70s with the pacemaker, bubble up, Gordy Bonin funny car. Ron, nice to see you back in the game again.
Yeah, we're happy to be here. It's been a long time since we raced in Eastern Canada. We raced in Montreal at Saint-Air 3 weeks ago, and now we are here at London Motor Speedway, and weather permitting, we'll be out there and burn up that track.
Now, we talk about corporate involvement. You own a number of GM General Motors stores or dealerships, so obviously you understand the value. What kind of a part does it play in your effort to get back? I understand you've got about a year game plan to get a real competitive Top Fuel effort together.
Yeah, what we've done is we brought a crew of people together. Donnie Couch from Los Angeles, California, used to race with Shirley for years. We brought Gordon Jenner, our original crew chief on the pacemaker funny car, out of retirement, and so we put a team back together. It's really a group of friends. We all fly in, about 8 of us, and we go to these different events, and we're just getting tuned up to go after that NHRA series in 96 or 97, but you've got to sort of creep back into it and get up to date, and so we're pretty happy with the way the car's running right now.
Well, as you can see, sponsorship plays a big part in that. An effort like this costs a lot of money to run. Does this feature a stroke on sponsors and a stroke for GM? Well, sure it is. But the reality is we all in motorsport recognize that the sponsors all around a racetrack or a speedway or a drag strip are the ones that help pay the freight. So remember, the next time you're out buying services or goods, support the people that support motorsport. That's it from here.
Big message, so important too. Pro Comp semifinal coming at you. We've got Nagy against Price and Weathers against DeLucia down to the final 4.
Well, it's the 11th against 9th seeded drivers and the 8th against the 2nd overall. And the quick 16 door slammers and dragsters down to the final 4 in semifinal action.
Round 1 in the semis in Lefter Tower Lane. Jeff Weathers out of Bolton, Ontario beat Harry Hibbs in this lane in round 1. He'll go up against Syracuse, New York's Jim DeLucia in the right and spectator lanes. He beat Paul Schill from this lane in round 1.
Nice looking altered here. 783 will be his index and or dial in, if you will. He has run a 789 and he qualified with a 779, so he's kind of right in the middle there. And for Weathers, an 815 dialed in. Last run was an 825. So he's stepped it up just a bit here for this next run.
That's one thing I really love about Pro Comp. You get a variety of cars running against each other. The altered against the rear engine dragster. Let's see what happens on a ball.
Yeah, red light for Weathers and a tough break there. The wind will come back automatically to DeLucia, and we'll get his time as he powers through. 8:43 with a 9 at 127.48 miles an hour. Good reaction time too of 5:34.
And what a shame too for Jeff Weathers out of Bolton. He red lights and that eliminates him instantly. Here is a replay. Watch for the red light on the left-hand side here.
This is 27 thousandths of a second right there. That's how much he lost by. Top end with John.
One more round, Jim. 8:43 at about $1.27, and Jeff fouled.
Yeah, I saw his red light, so I lifted it.
Well, what's going to be next round, dude?
Hey, I'll give him my best shot. That's all we can do.
Well, there you go. He's loaded for bear. He goes to the next round. The next round is finals.
But to get to the finals, we need the other half of the semifinals, and here's the next pairing coming right at you here. Shannon Galbraith-Price. Here she arrives from Milton, Ontario. Beat Nick Constantakos in this lane in round 1. She will face, from Niagara Falls, Ontario, Chuck Nagy. He beat Brad Matheson to get to the semifinals.
Price eating up the big rear slicks here. She qualified second overall, as we get a look now at Nagy warming up as well. She qualified second overall with a time of 7:29 and capable of 180 miles an hour. She'll be dialed in with a 7:30 this run. She ran a 7:31 to advance. Nagy dialed in at 7:84, so he'll get the head start. He recently ran a 7:85, so he's about there as well. Mind you, he qualified fairly quick, though, 7:77.
The times, you don't like to see them waver too much. These guys like to be consistent, even if it's with their indexes. They like to try and get that same benchmark each and every run.
This is second against 8th fastest qualifier here in the Pro Comp division. Trying to advance to the final to meet DeLucia, number 9 qualifier.
Chuck Nagy out of the fall. Shannon Galbraith-Price out of Milton, Ontario. The winner will advance to the final against Jim DeLucia out of Syracuse, New York in Pro Comp.
You'll see Nagy in that left-hand lane move just a little quick off the line here. He'll have about maybe a 0.5 of a second head start thereabouts, 5/400 to be exact. Working on a 5/10 light. Nagy has staged. Now we wait for Price to move in.
And then a little bit slowly, once all 4 yellow lights are lit, down comes the tree. Let's have a look.
Good reaction by both drivers. 5:21 by Price in the near side, though the best of the two to the top end. Who's it going to be? Very close. Nagy goes through with the win. A 7:84 with a 3 at 169 plus. Losing time 7:34.
Oh, a splendid drag race. Let's look at this again as they come off the concrete pad.
Yeah, halfway down, Nagy's out front, and he will stay out front. There's no way the Price is going to catch up, and look at that, how close it was.
Here's John.
Congratulations, Chuck. 783. You go to the next round up against Jimmy.
Yeah, I think it was 784, and it was a really close race. You come up right alongside me.
Yeah, it was. It was tight right at the line. What's it going to be in the next round? What can you do? Jimmy's running hot.
Well, I got to run Jimmy D. Well, I've run him before, and he's a tough competitor. It'll be a close one.
Can you play a mind game?
No, nothing funny is going to happen. It's going to be pretty straight.
Good stuff. Go get him.
Thanks a lot.
So it'll be Chuck Nagy of Niagara Falls and Jim DeLucia of Syracuse, New York. Kind of fitting. Can-Am Nationals. Canada versus USA in the final of Pro Comp. More to come on Raceline in a moment. Nice to have you with us at London Motorsports Park, Sparta, Ontario. Eric Thomas, Ron St. Clair, and Pitside with John Massingberg.
Well, as you can see, there is an absolute pile, a throng of Chuck Etchells fans standing here watching the between-round maintenance, Chuck. It's 2-1 for Force. I know you're not happy with that, and these folks are wanting to know what you're going to do to tune it up and take the big guy out.
Well, you know, we can't really get too aggressive. I mean, both Force's car and our car spun the tires the whole second half. I mean, you know, this is one of those deals where we want to get down through there and, you know, put on a good show for the fans. That's the primary goal here. I know Tim's getting after a little tiny bit, but I'm certain he's not getting after as hard as he wants to. So, you know, a lot will depend on, I guess, who's the most aggressive and goes the right way with the clutch and the tune-up, you know. That's what it'll really come down to.
Now, they say sometimes it's a battle of crew chiefs. If Tim puts more in the car, does that allow you any leeway in how you drive it that next round?
No, not really. I mean, my driving's been real bad this year, and I'm just, you know, I'm using some of these match races to try and get my act together myself. I'm just trying to do the same thing regardless of what the car's doing or what the competitor's doing, you know. I'm just trying to get myself in my own zone in there and get better to national events, you know, and this helps.
Well, it's a sign of a true pro. This man spends over 300 days a year on the road in his business on top of his racing and wants to come out here to tune up and get better so he can win for the fans. Good luck, Chuck Etchels.
Thanks a lot.
Well, as Chuck mentioned, there'll be a lot of work on the clutch, Eric. These things wear 125 thousandths of an inch off on each run, and that's a lot of work on the clutch.
This is what this man likes to do the most, besides drive his fuel funny car, is to have interaction with the fans. The tune-ups continue in the pits between rounds. We're getting back to some more fuel action here, and here we go, the final in the three-sided match race in Top Fuel. Craig Smith doing his burnout, Modessa Washington, the Ron Hodson dragster. And in the other lane, Shirley Muldowney, the winningest female driver in motorsport history. And she's got something to look at here. We've got a tie, one win each for each one of these competitors. So here comes the rubber match.
Pretty bold in the Muldowney pit. They're predicting that Shirley will beat that 5:15 record. And as for Smith, we get word on that last run that they had, which was a disappointing one, a 5:43. They had a clutch timing light malfunction at the 1.2 second mark, and the car was a little lazy off the line. So hopefully that'll engage properly. It comes on 0.8 of a second, 1.2, 1.8, 2.3, and then 2.8 seconds down the track for a full lockup, and pretty much 1-to-1 ratio.
Craig Smith backs it in. 15 years in top alcohol dragsters, running 7 different cars, gives him the experience he needs. Hooked up with Hodson in Edmonton, running various Division 6 meets. Been together about 5 years now.
Interesting fact, Eric, that many drag racing fans may or may not have been aware of. You know, we've talked about the G-force coming off the line. There's a greater G-force as the clutch engages further on down track, which is something I didn't know until I had a good chat with these drivers.
Oh, these things haul all the way down, clearing off the debris. There's Ron Tobler, Shirley Muldowney's husband and crew chief. In the top 15, Shirley is an all-time NHRA national event wins, and happy, as she told me in the pits, to have her son John back on the team as a fabricator. Back when they were running the national event schedule in NHRA, he was there. He went away from the team and says, you know, Mom, this is a lot of fun. Why can't we do that? Maybe some IHRA national events next year, maybe a couple of NHRAs too for Shirley Muldowney, but she's concerned about the way guys are blowing up parts. When that gets addressed, you'll see Shirley Muldowney come back in more full-time on the national side.
Already staging in here on the pro tree, 0.4 of a light. Muldowney to the left, Smith to our right. 5.15 the track record, and here we go.
Well, that concussion is just something else.
Muldowney with a 5.96 reaction. Top end with a win, a 5.22 with an 8. Smith shut off, and there's the mile per hour, 282.04.
Shirley Muldowney puts on a show here. Ron Tobler and crew pretty excited about that as the Hodson aggregation comes over to offer congratulations.
Not sure what happened to Smith. It appears they shut off down around the 1,000-foot mark, but Muldowney down track with a pretty good run, missing the track record by 600ths of a second.
Let's have a look at the launch here.
Yeah, Smith got off the line a little quicker there, I thought. But Muldowney wins it. And at the top end with Shirley, here's John Massenberg.
Shirley, a 5.22 at 282, and it looked like you were in and out of it, but hung on to it for a long time and drove it out the end.
Well, it started to shake on me, so I pedaled it, and then it broke off the, broke the tires loose.
For those folks
that got back on it.
Yeah, big time. For those folks that don't know what pedaling is, what exactly is that? What do you do in the car?
I don't know. What are you doing? It's sometimes you can feel it start to smoke the tires. You know, the first indication is if it starts to shake and your fillings get loose. So you try to pedal it, but, you know, to recover the throttle is a very hard thing to do because you hear the cars go burp, 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 burp.
It's not like a light switch. You can't turn it on and off.
That's right. It's an extremely hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you eat the bear. Sometimes he eats you.
Shirley, you've got a lot of laps down a racetrack after last night's incident and getting the car in the air. Is it unnerving for you to get back in the car? Do you think about it again?
No, that you can't do that. At least I don't. I just put it out of my mind and know that they prepared a good car for me, and you know, and then just go with the moment.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful run.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Shirley Muldowney, once again, 3-time world champion. 2 for 3 here at London Motorsport Park.
2 runs to 1 for Shirley Muldowney. Some of her best days in Canada. Love to see this lady come back up and run in this country. Let's have another look at this run. Too bad for Craig Smith. He ran into some problems about halfway down and had to shut it off. But Shirley Muldowney comes through at the end. Hazed the tires there a little bit too.
Pretty good 60-foot times, Eric. Muldowney with a 9:24 and .927 for Smith. And right about here, you'll see there's the blower belt blowing off on Smith's machine and off the throttle.
That's why we have replays. And here's John Massenberg.
Craig Smith, 582, blower belt went away. It looked like you were out on her, and a lousy way to lose a race, pal.
I know it. We welded her on the starting line there, and I never saw her until the belt broke. I guess she smoked the tires or something, eh?
She had to pedal it, yeah.
Yeah. It's the only way you can beat Shirley here. You got to beat her on the starting line. You ain't got a chance. She's running those high gears in the rear end. The rest of us are running these lower gears. The thing on hers really hauls on the top end.
Well, I'll tell you what, you got her in the first round, and she got you a couple times. But one thing, Craig, you thrilled the fans here. It was great to see the GM Goodwrench dragster here at London Motorsport Park, and thanks for spending some time with us.
It was a pleasure being here. We loved it. We just love these Canadians. We don't get this many people coming out in the U.S. to watch the races, especially on a rainy day.
There you go. Tribute to the fans from Craig Smith for coming out and sticking it out for the day.
Yeah, Smith had a pretty good reaction time. He was talking about welding it on the line, a 5:59 to a 5:96, and he won that one.
Alrighty, for all intents and purposes, this man has already won the match race here with Chuck Etchells. But Etchells will try and stop the sweep. Forces up 2 wins to nothing in the match race as he gets bolted in and gets prepared with Austin Coyle. And now on the other side, Chuck Etchells, the first funny car driver in the 4s, as we said, wants to stop the sweep. And he wanted a rematch because he didn't win it last year. He wanted to come back. He's really got his work cut out here, but he's going to try and stop a clean sweep from John Force.
Well, Etchells running a 5:97 in the first run, which was last night, a 5:47 in the second run, just missing the victory there by 0.07 of a second. Be interesting to see if he can get maybe a little more mile per hour. His best so far is 268. He'll need to get up around 278, I think, to stay with Force.
Flash cowling going on inside John Force to guard his hands in the event of a blow-up or a fire inside the car. That'll protect his hands. That's an innovation that Austin Coyle, Bernie Federle, and John Force came up with. Tim Richards and his crew getting set to light 5,000 horses that makes a sound that most people don't want to hear twice in their life. These things are unbelievably loud, unbelievably powerful. Hey, 5,000 horsepower. Some even say on a dyno it'll get up to 6,200 horsepower. Trying to turn these things over. There's a lot of compression. 200 horses alone just to turn the blower.
Yeah, they get that big old remote starter on the snout of the supercharger and spin the motor over. A little alcohol to help out.
And then the nitromethane, nitric acid vapor and methane gas fuel kicks in. There you go. There's the sound. And that twin magneto setup is Austin Coyle, who worked with London native Frank Hawley to championships way back when in the Chi-Town Hustler, perhaps the best tuner in fuel drag racing today.
Well, Frank's been here at London Motorsports Park, but the track record is held by this man, John Force, 5:27. He has run a 5:57 and a 5:40 so far in this weekend's event. Etchells, meantime, with a 5:97 and a 5:47. And it'll be interesting, too. You know, he did run Force around a 4:98 down in Kansas last week at Topeka. So he's capable of a 4-second pass, but I don't know if he'll do it here in London.
Chuck Etchells has been guilty of having too much screwed into the track so far in his first 2 runs. So let's see if Tim Richards, John Medlin, and Kim LaHaye, who works the clutch on this car, are able to maybe back it off a bit, get that tire spin out of there, and get this thing down the track, because if Etchells has this car hooked on, it can be brutally fast.
Yes, it'll hit about 72, maybe 7,300 RPM at the top end of the quarter mile. As we mentioned already, Force leads this 2-0, so he's basically won it already. But of course, Etchells wants bragging rights. He doesn't want to have to come back next year looking for his first victory against Force.
46 career funny car national event wins. And this man, Austin Coyle, has been at the helm tuning this car. He's been with Force for 11 years. Last Thanksgiving, it is an organization that communicates extremely well.
You know, I give John Fletcher, who has now owned this facility for 6 years, all kinds of credit. His goal is to get an NHRA Division III sanctioned event here at London Motorsports Park. And when you bring in this kind of a show, it shows his commitment to this sport.
Earplugs at the ready, you better have them. Because it's an unbelievable sound, an unbelievable concussion when these things leave the line. 5,000 horsepower each, 10,000 horsepower. My goodness, this is penultimate horsepower, the fastest race cars on the planet.
John Force had the best reaction time in the first 2 runs. That was last night when he cut a light of 4:41. And neither driver has been able to get down into the forest since then. So a lot of these races are won right here on the starting line. They need a good light to get going.
Tim Richards waving Chuck Etchells up into proper staging. Austin Coyle's done the same thing for John Force. Watch the yellow lights on top. They're both pre-staged, now staged. And away we go.
4:46 for Force, and Etchell smokes the tires. He's off the throttle, and Force will go through a 5:40 with a 3 at 280.85 miles an hour.
And Chuck Etchells not able to solve the problem of tire spin. Yeah, the youngins there find it a little bit upsetting, a little rub in the back for what ails you. John Force, sorry, makes it 3 in a row. Here's the launch run.
One guy didn't even get a chance to get a picture. It was so fast there.
Exactly.
Off the line, 4:76 reaction for Force. Etchells with a 5:72. 60-foot time for Force, 1.008. With another look, there's the 60-footer there. And at about the 8th mile, 230.91 miles an hour at the 8th mile for Force.
Here's John.
540, John, 3 for 3. Congratulations.
Well, that ain't good at all. I mean, it spun. Yeah, 3 for 3 is good. It spun him out there in the middle. Truck down, malfunction. So it ran quicker than a 40 had to. But it ran 286, and that's almost 290. So we were trying to push the 300 mark here like we do at a few of the national events. The conditions were good, but track, I was loose out there in the middle. And, you know, we don't get as many cars to run on here like we do at an NHRA event. But the Fletchers put in a good racetrack for us, and we won 3. That makes us going home a winner, and that's what it's all about.
Does too. Enough said. Thanks, champ.
Just like I said, TSN, Raceline, that's my show. Watch it. Or B Square.
Hey, champ rocks to join again. The place goes nuts. John Force, 3 for 3.
He won 2 of them on the left lane and 1 on the right lane, so he got the job done.
Stats coordinator Mark Gibson up there watching John Force get back in the van. He's a PR machine, isn't he?
There is.
Lots more action to come from the Can-Am Nationals on Raceline in a moment. London Motorsports Park, Sparta, Ontario. And Big Man Moon looking down on us here. The Castrol Can-Am Nationals. What a time we had with the fuel cars. Shirley Muldowney, the top fuel champion. And John Force taking the funny car final. Pro Comp is coming up here to end off the evening. It'll be Chuck Nagy of the Falls against Jim DeLucia out of Syracuse, New York. A true Can-Am final in Pro Comp.
Sure is, and we started this whole thing with 29 of the fastest door slammers and dragsters in Southern Ontario and into the U.S. as well. And we're down to this set right now, the Altered here on the near side. Nagy will be dialed in with a 783. His times so far, 784 and 785, so he's been right dead smack on the number. And DeLucia will be dialed in 785. So they're almost head up here, Eric. His times so have been kind of erratic, 843 and a 789.
Yeah, but the numbers are pretty close here. Nagy beat Brad Matheson and Shannon Price to advance to the final, with DeLucia eliminating Paul Schill and Jeff Weathers to advance to the final in Pro Comp under the lights at London Motorsports Park in Sparta, Ontario. Pretty racetrack at night, good visibility all the way down.
DeLucia's come the hard way to advance, knocking off the number 1, 5, and 11th competitors, while Nagy has bumped off the 16th and 4th competitors. And the number 2, Price. Bumped off Price as well.
Nagy against DeLucia, the final in Pro Comp at the Castrol Can-Am Nationals.
Red light by Nagy. The defending champion is done. Top end, it's DeLucia. And he'll go through with a time of 7:86 with a 9 for the win on that red light by Nagy.
Well, the DeLucia crew is happy. And tell you what, at night, that red light stands out like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You can really see it all over the place.
165.48 miles an hour. And let's take a look at the red light. We'll give you the interval here. They're working on a 5/10 light, and Nagy breaks it with a 489, 11 thousandths away.
Well, congratulations, Jim. It's been a long day of racing. 786, 165 to win the deal. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Tough show today. I'm glad they got it in.
It really was tough. It was not only tough competing, it was tough to get in the show. It was a very stout qualifying round, and then they came up with 16 very, very tough cars.
Yep, John Fletcher puts on a good race up here. They got a good field of cars. It's tough to win up here. I'm real proud.
Well, if there was a crowd favorite for best appearing, I think you would have won that one as well. So congratulations. It's been a good weekend.
Thank you very much.
Jimmy D wins it here today at London Motorsport Park.
Most may know Syracuse for dirt modified championships, but tonight it's Pro Comp drag racer champion Jim DeLucia from Syracuse.
Long day here in Sparta as well. We had a 2-hour rain delay early, a lot of moisture in the air, and of course darkness falling here in southern Ontario. It's a beautiful night and a great victory there indeed. Over 200 cars all told ran through the event here this weekend.
That'll wrap it up from the Can-Am Nationals. On behalf of our Raceline crew, so long everyone.
In-car and wall cameras supplied by Sony Canada, makers of the Sony Handycam. Raceline radio supplied by the rental division of Motorola Canada Limited.
Raceline has been brought to you by Kodak Gold Ultra 400 Film for all your Kodak moments. By AC Delco Parts, where the difference is quality. And by your GM Goodwrench Service Plus dealer, where you get the finest quality work at competitive prices.